This is the best-selling plug-in hybrid in all of the United States. Nothing else really comes close because it's a Jeep, it's a Wrangler, and the price is actually right, unlike most Wranglers. And for 2024, there's some new changes on the outside and on the inside, some first-ever Jeep features. But don't get yourself twisted because this is still a Jeep, so that means it's pretty expensive, it's not so easy to drive on the highway, and it retains value almost like no other vehicle. So let's go drive. The Wrangler 4xe has been the most popular plug-in hybrid since 2021. Right now, 1 out of every 4 Wranglers is a 4xe. And it's not just because of the price, it's because as a plug-in hybrid, it's executed well. There used to be 5 engines, now there's 4. No more diesel for 2024, so if you want that, you're gonna have to go into the Gladiator where it's still available. This one is the 4xe, as I said, plug-in hybrid, combining that turbo 2-liter 4 with a 400-volt, 17 kilowatt-hour battery that's mounted right underneath those rear seats. It's got 96 cells. Sounds impressive, but it only delivers you 21 all-electric miles. That's not a lot, but it's enough. And there's multiple driving modes, which I will explain later, but check out the numbers. 49 mpge, which may not sound like a whole lot when you compare it to EVs and other plug-ins, but no other one does everything this can do off-road. That's the whole point of it. And the horsepower and the torque are very favorable, even though this is significantly heavier than a regular Wrangler. Check out the other engine options because they're also pretty good. That 3.6 liter V6, not my favorite, but it does come with a 6-speed manual as standard. And you can also get this 2-liter Turbo 4 as a standalone option without the hybrid assist. And of course, there's also the big bad V8. Gotta love that one. Watch the review. Yeah, please do watch it. And then come back and see what this can do. It's a lot different. There's 10 new wheel designs for the 2024 Wrangler, including these 20s on the high altitude. This is a trim that is only on the 4xe, and it upgrades the Sahara with body color fenders, you get body color bumpers, and the roof. And this is the Sky One Touch, so it's got that nice power fabric folding roof that costs about $4,000, but it's pretty cool in action. Because this is the 4xe, you're also getting the blue accents on the badges and the tow hooks. And really, there's no other changes from the side at all. New this year, this power box. It's got 4 outlets, 15 amps on either side, runs off the battery, and it's also got a USB-C port. Acts as a very handy extension cord if you're anywhere. The grille gets a new black color, and the whole surround, slightly different shape, the same 7 slots. But here's what's different, particularly on the right-hand side. I'll give you a quick second. There's no more aerial antenna. Instead, there's a trail-ready stealth antenna. That's what Jeep calls putting the antenna into the glass like so many other vehicles do. Now, if you really like AM and FM reception, it'll probably go down, but in terms of looks, I think it's an upgrade, and that is the major change this year. When you get the 4xe, you sacrifice a few cubes of cargo space. 28 behind the seats and 67 when folded. That is down from a regular Wrangler Unlimited, but with the 4xe, it only comes with 4 doors. 2 things I've always wanted in a Jeep Wrangler since 1941, power front seats and curtain airbags, finally bringing this Jeep up to modern safety standards. The instrument panel is now wrapped, there's nicer stitching, and there's Nappa leather seats on this high altitude trim. Now the bad, the window switches in the center, some fit and finish issues, and the roll bar just really getting in the way of the entire interior. It's not quite as roomy as you'd expect inside a Jeep, but it's easy to see out of. I'm sitting above the battery pack because this is the 4xe. You do lose some space, not by much though, because, well, with this open roof, you got all the room. Plus there's 4 USB ports and a household outlet. Every Wrangler now comes with a 12.3-inch touchscreen, which is way bigger than before, much higher res. It really works well. I'm so glad that Jeep put this in because it actually looks well integrated on this whole dashboard. It's not tacked on. I like that. Also, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And you can also get adventure guides. This will show you up to 3,000 different trails all across the United States. It does require a subscription, but it's kind of cool that you can do this right from the Jeep. Before, that was just a smartphone app, and now it's right here. I like that a lot. On the 4xe, there's also some special e-hybrid controls. Not only can you see the power flow, but you can adjust, for example, how you want to save the battery or charge the battery while you're driving, set up charging schedules if you're so inclined. That's here. There's also more standard safety features. Sport S and above trims all get forward collision warning and braking, plus adaptive cruise control that was not available as standard before. The nice thing about all this new technology is there's still a crank handbrake, there's still the same lever for the four-wheel drive, and all the same good and bad parts about a Jeep remain. The biggest change for 2024 is that the Wrangler, the higher trims, are all supposed to be quieter. But I can't really tell the difference. Part of that is due to the fact that this is the Sky One Touch, so it's a fabric folding top. I think it would be helpful if it was the hard top so I could do a direct comparison. But it's still Wrangler loud. It really is. And this is after Jeep has put more insulation into the glass, so it's an acoustic laminated glass. They put more foam insulation in the windshield headers, the B-pillars right behind me, thicker carpeting. And really, it's still just a loud, uncomfortable truck to drive for many, many miles on the highway, which most people who buy these will do. But I'm not really convinced that any amount of insulation matters when you have a truck like this, where everything can be unscrewed. But regardless, this Wrangler definitely drives better than Wranglers did 10, 15 years ago when they started reviewing cars. So that's a plus. But I will say though that with these 20-inch wheels and the all-terrains, even though this is based on the Sahara, which is the more street-friendly Wrangler, as opposed to the Rubicon, which is the full off-road package, the steering here is actually a bit sloppier. I'm almost thinking that I'm driving a Rubicon right now because the off-center feel is pretty poor, and the Sahara is known for having much better steering control and accuracy, and I'm not feeling it. And I really do think it has to do with these larger 20-inch wheels and tires, which you can only get on the high altitude. And even though it looks nice, I'm not really convinced that's the best play. I think the 18s and lower, I think that works better, because I don't remember the steering being like this in past Sahara models. So yeah, I'm not really a fan of that on the highway. This drives more like some Wranglers of old, where you're kind of fighting the wheel to keep that straight line stability, especially on a windy day. What is great about the 4xe is that the engine stays off almost all the time when you're on very light throttle. We're doing about 55 miles an hour right now, engine completely silent. This electric motor is just large enough to handle all the torque when you don't really need to be moving that quickly, and it's great in that regard. Unlike most Wranglers, the 4xe has an automatic switching to 4 high. Now you still have 4 low, all of that usual stuff, but it's not a part-time system. This is a full-time system. And what's great though, is that it doesn't work any differently than any of the other four-wheel drive systems. And by that, I mean the electric motor is within the transmission. So unlike Toyotas and other soft riding crossovers out there that attach electric motors and replace the mechanical rear axle, there's no mechanical changes to a Wrangler 4xe. That's because you're still getting the same 8-speed automatic transmission with that electric motor mounted within between the engine and the transmission. So it shifts normally, even when the engine is fully off. Then it awakens just like that. Really not much stutter at all when the engine starts and shuts down. And the great thing is that when you're on a trail or you're on the road, you're still getting the same amount of traction. So it's going to behave exactly the same as any other Wrangler. And that's the key thing to understand about the 4xe, is that you're getting the extra fuel savings when you have it charged and plugged in, but it's not operating any differently. So if you're a little hesitant towards getting one, just know that it's not going to change the way you drive it. The 4xe makes the same amount of torque as the Rubicon 392. It is a lot heavier than that Jeep, so watch that review because it's a fun review to watch. It's a fun Jeep to drive. It's extremely frightening. This is the one I would rather be in on a daily commute or just ever, because it's just not intimidating at all. And while the performance is good, there's a lot of extra weight from this battery. Jeep conceals it pretty well. It still feels really top heavy, just like every Wrangler, so going around this turn is just slightly unsettling. But it doesn't really alter the characteristics of the Wrangler at all. Jeep claims up to 21 miles of EPA estimated electric range. I'd say they're pretty accurate, and clearly that changes with your driving, whether it's mostly highway or mostly city. I get around those numbers. It's not bad. A lot of other plugins that are new to the market, newer than this 4xe, they are putting out some bigger batteries, and this is only 17 kilowatt hours, so this is among the smaller ones. I would love to see the 4xe do, say, 40 miles of range, but it doesn't right now. So you're not going to get a sport mode or a comfort mode in the Wrangler, but the 4xe comes with 3 different driving modes for the electric powertrain. There's hybrid, which comes on standard, that's the default one. Electric, which is fully electric as it sounds. Unless you put your foot down, then it will engage that gas engine, and I'm glad it does. And then there's e-save, and there's 2 modes within that mode. Right now I have it on battery charging, so when I'm driving, the gas engine is acting more as a generator to charge that electric battery. That helps. If you want to, say, go on a trail and maybe do that a little bit later and you want to have a few more miles of gas-free driving, that's nice, but it obviously is less efficient when you drive that way. The other mode is called battery save. So say you want to keep your battery level at a pretty constant charge after you've topped it off. Well, you don't have to worry about the hybrid system pulling entirely from that battery, which it will do by default. That's also nice because you don't always want to have to ruin your battery range if you're headed somewhere later and want it. Again, not the most efficient way to drive, which is why this is not enabled by default in the Wrangler 4xe, but it's nice that there's an option because a lot of plugins don't let you do that. Even in this street-friendly trim, this is still a Wrangler, so it does Wrangler things. I'm going to put it back into hybrid mode. What's more notable about the 4xe is that it's quieter on the trail as opposed to quieter on the road. That's where it really comes in, this benefit of having electrification. You can really enjoy nature some more and not hear a diesel or a gas engine just clattering along. So here's the difference with the Wrangler 4xe's four-wheel drive. When you're in 4-high part-time, it's keeping the engine running even with the battery charged because it's assuming you're probably going to go into low, and that definitely needs all the available torque. But if I flip it into 4H auto, things quiet down a bit, and that's where it gets nice. Because if you don't need the diff lockers, if you don't need all the low range, you can just creep along silently. I really like this roof. It's a $4,000 option, but it's so much nicer than having to take off the hardtop panels or detach the soft top and have it flutter in the back like that because it doesn't ever properly stow. This is really nice. It truly is, and this will operate at highway speeds up to about 60 miles an hour, so you don't have to stop to close it, unlike a lot of convertible tops. Now, the real Jeep enthusiasts would say, well, this is a real bougie way of off-roading, and they're right, but this is how I would do it. Up the hill, full electric torque. More throttle, still fully electric. That's great, truly. That was not the smallest incline, and the electric motors have no issue powering the Jeep up there. And again, I want to go back into 4-high, and I need maximum power, maximum torque, then the engine fires right up. But you don't hear a shudder, you don't hear it shake. The 2024 Jeep Wrangler starts at $32,095. The 4xe is $49,995. And that's actually less than last year because there's a new Sport S. There's also a Rubicon X for a total of 6 trims versus 4 from 2023. As tested, this is not a cheap Jeep, $70,680 with destination. There's a federal tax credit if you purchase or finance with $3,750. There's not the full $7,500 due to the new IRS rules. But if you lease, you're gonna get some seriously great deals, and that's why the 4xe is so popular. I like the incremental changes that Jeep makes to the Wrangler every year, especially now with technology and safety. That makes this a lot more livable and a lot easier to recommend to people who have never had one. But it's still a Jeep, and that means high resale value and really terrible to drive on the road for the most part. It's not a practical vehicle in that sense, and that's why it's so good, because it's not like other SUVs and crossovers. It's tough, it's got the iconic looks, and just like a Porsche 911 or other vehicles that don't really change from generation to generation, this is gonna stay the same no matter what it's powered by. So what do you think? 2024 model reviews, we got them. We also got comparison tests, and we sell all these cars at cargurus.com, so go look for listings, subscribe. We'll see you next time.